Hello, the internet. Matthew here from the very tip of my world. I'm here at the beautiful Montauk Point, the very most southern edge of Long Island, and I'm here to bring you another fantastic vlog. You can see right there behind me the Montauk Point Lighthouse. I would like to say world famous and iconic. It's not the most perfect day in terms of weather, but it's a great day to be alive, and I'm very grateful that you tuned in today. So let's carry right along from the last piece and talk about what happens after great pain. When I look back on my life, the incident that I mentioned in my last vlog with the Boar's Head rep wasn't the only point where somebody that I encountered tried to crack the shell that was the prison of my old perspective. I had met many others that tried to show me that viewing reality through the rigid structure that I had built around my mind was not only inhibiting my growth, but was actually antithetical to who I truly was as a person. And rather than go through the long list of many unabsorbed lessons, I want to focus today on exactly why none of those lessons penetrated my mind before I found myself in the underworld. For starters, I was brought up with inflexible religious thinking that I tried very hard to make work in my life, despite the fact that it didn't really fit who I was. This was largely because I simply didn't want to hurt my parents, so I stifled my soul. To be clear, I am a really bad liar. I just couldn't fake my belief like so many of the other church youth who could successfully lead what is commonly called a double life. No, for me, the show of righteous, arrogant indignation that's so endemic to many religious people throughout the world had to come from as real a place as possible. So I convinced myself that I was a true believer. Years after I left my family's faith, however, I noticed I had kept up a lot of the old pretenses because a lot of the old programs were still operating in my unconscious mind. Well, at least that's what I thought. Imagine my chagrin, though, as I deleted all of these programs to discover that my own lack of humility had actually very little to do with my religious upbringing. It was much more of a tragic personality flaw. Maybe it has something to do with a past life. Maybe I'm just a stubborn, judgmental prick. Whatever the reason is, it took a couple of years of having my smug face ground in the dirt before I realized that I didn't actually know that much about life at all. At that point, I had a choice to make. Either use my face to dig deeper and just pray for softer dirt, or shut my mouth and open my ears. Now, I eventually chose to do the latter, but not before I lost almost everything that was important to me. I just wasn't ready to listen until I got to that juncture. In my defense, most humans only earn great wisdom after great pain. For Peter Sage, he learned all his amazing insights after he crashed his car at high speed and lived. No, he wasn't drinking, and he wasn't under the influence of anything other than his own ego. At that point, he was running 2 big companies at the same time, operating on about 2 hours of sleep for months on end, and simply dozed off at the wheel. Like Peter, many other successful people have their own crash stories, be it literal or metaphorical. That moment in their life where they finally get the message from the gods: wake up. As I've said, I've walked over my own tracks in life many times. So by the point that I had encountered the guru, I was actually finally ready to listen to the wisdom that he had to impart. But before that, there was a moment that the shell on my old perspective really did start to crack. One of the wealthiest clients that I had in the early days of my massage career proved to me that I knew absolutely nothing about rich and successful people whatsoever. At that point in my life, I assumed, like many Americans today still do, that to have as much wealth as she did would have required a great deal of dishonesty, either legal, moral, or both. All that changed, however, as I started to get to know her. At first she was just a client, but after some time of regular sessions, she and I became friends. I had even been invited to her house on more than one occasion, and as I stood in her palatial mansion, surrounded by beautiful luxury, the fastened head on her shoulders and the kind, sterling heart in her chest did not elude my attention either. She single-handedly stopped me from lumping all wealthy people in together into the same category as villains. It didn't stop me at that moment of passing judgment over all rich people, but it was a step in the right direction. And with that first adjustment, my perspective started to gradually shift. Eventually, I found myself not only adopting a new viewpoint, but switching sides, if you will. After one of our sessions, she gave me a few books to read. I'm embarrassed to admit I never actually read those books. And this is partially because, as I've said before, I don't absorb written material very well, but I'd be lying if I didn't say part of the reason wasn't because of my own intransigence. However, one book in that small stack she gave me kept crossing my path over and over again till I eventually read it, actually listened to the audio. That was not until my own, thankfully metaphorical, crash and slow climb out of the pit. This book was the now famous Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Kiyosaki is not just a hugely influential and prosperous businessman, he's an incredible mind with an impressive track record of success. And although he's often referred to as a motivational speaker, I find that his work is not so much inspirational as it is educational. Instead of focusing on motivating his crowds with emotion, Robert instead delivers a lot of practical advice for anyone who's willing to listen. However, it's his concepts on education that stood out the most to me, which is what I will discuss in my next vlog. Your assignment this week is to tell us in the description below if you've read Robert's book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. If you haven't and would like to get a copy, I've left links to Amazon and also audio version as well if you're like me and don't read very well. However, if you have read his book and you would like to share your insights in the comments below, that would be most appreciated. I'll be back next week with another vlog and another assignment. Please make sure you subscribe to this channel if you haven't already done so. And you can follow me on Instagram, and now you can follow me on Twitter as well. Of course, all the links to all the relevant material from this vlog will be in the description. And if you've gotten something out of this video, please make sure you share it with others. For now, this is Matthew of Monster Health and Fitness, signing off. I'm reminding you that there is no portal to utopia. We're gonna have to take the long way around.